and I'm a senior at Joseph Wheeler High School. As someone who is grateful for the community I found in my high school and the memories I have made throughout my now 3.5 years there, I'm here today to emphasize why changing our school's name is necessary and important. I think that this discussion has been somewhat misguided. This is not about evaluating the morality of Joseph Wheeler as an individual. Does his role as a congressman outweigh his service as a Confederate general? And other questions along these lines are entirely irrelevant. Instead, the heart of this issue lies in the answer to this alone. What does his name stand for, and does it represent the values of our school today? The key piece of evidence is the time period during which our high school was named. The 11 years between the passing of Brown versus Board of Education and the integration of Cobb County in 1965. During this time, the school board was presented with an interesting opportunity. An opportunity to name a new school in a predominantly white area as the public fretted over the integration of schools. They chose Joseph Wheeler, a man whose involvement in the region is related to his role as a Confederate general. The name was intended to send a backhanded message to the federal government in opposition to desegregation, a message that the public might have appreciated at the time. His name was selected amid the modern civil rights era because he was a Confederate general. A quote from the first yearbook produced by the school in 1966 puts it quite clearly. The excerpt reads, "This is the place which bears the name of Confederate General Joseph E. Wheeler. Not congressman, not American soldier, Confederate general." It's clear that whatever the personal values of Joseph Wheeler, his name was chosen to enforce inequality. His name is symbolic of hate and division. Wheeler is an entirely different place than it was in 1965. It's one of the most diverse schools, public schools in Georgia, with a 74% minority population. The main thing you see when you enter the main lobby after passing by the name of a Confederate general outside are 2 rows of flags overhead, representing the various countries that our student body is from. We celebrate our diversity through an international night, and hold an MLK Day assembly. We are united in our efforts to educate ourselves and impact the world for the better. We learned about the clear disparity between the name of our building and the values of the people inside it, and are now presented with our own opportunity. The opportunity to acknowledge the progress of our school and the entire county since 1965 by using the symbolic power of our name to diminish hate rather than continue to promote it. To conclude, I would like the board to outline specific policy measures regarding how to carry out potential name changes and truly consider this movement for positive change. It's an opportunity worth taking.
My name is Zoe Shepard, and I'm a magnet student at Wheeler High School. This is not my first time standing before the Cobb County Board petitioning for what is right. Between 3rd and 5th grade, I frequently attended board meetings pleading with its members to rebuild Harmony Leland Elementary School, as it was falling apart. I return now as a junior, asking you once again to do what is right. Like many others, I chose to attend this school because of their commitment to academic success and their commitment to embracing students of various cultures. On the inside, we epitomize inclusion and representation. On the outside, we are burdened with the name of a Confederate general who contradicts our values. To understand today, we must evaluate the past, so I'm here to touch briefly on the history of Cobb County. I will be quoting from the book Cobb County, Georgia and the Origins of the Suburban South, a 20th century history written by Thomas Allen Scott, a professor at Kennesaw State University. After the passing of Brown versus Board, there was significant pushback from the residents of Cobb County. For 10 years after the Brown decision, Marietta and Cobb County made no plans to integrate the public schools. Nonetheless, during this 10-year period of insubordination, Marietta schools were suffering. According to Scott, under the new law, the Johnson administration had the authority to cut off federal funds to schools that failed to desegregate. During the 1964 through 65 fiscal year, Marietta schools received almost a tenth of their budget. The integration of schools during this time was unwelcomed, as were the minority students and families across Cobb County who faced hostility and violence from those seeking to prevent them from obtaining an equal education. Furthermore, the decision to integrate was made not because they viewed segregation as an unjust practice, but because the shutting down of public schools was the unfavorable alternative. Under pressure from the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, the Cobb County Board of Education on the 1st of March 1965 formally agreed to desegregate by a vote of 5-1. Gene Housley of the East Cobb Post was the sole dissenter. This shows that the board member representing where Wheeler High School is now established voted in favor of segregation and voted against the reality of what our student body is today. Considering this, it is not only plausible, but likely that our name was given in spite. Changing the name of Wheeler High School is warranted and past due. We deserve to be able to take pride in our namesake and in what it represents. Just because it's always been this way doesn't mean that's how it must continue. We are requesting a meeting with the members who we have not yet heard from within 30 days. Thank you for your time.
My name is Matthew Coffin, and I am a 2015 graduate of Wheeler High School. As an alum celebrating the 5-year anniversary of my graduation, I've come here today to express my sincere desire that this board consider the urgent need to rename my alma mater, the legacy of whose name is antithetical to the inclusive, vibrant, and diverse community that I have found in Wheeler. Wheeler was an absolutely foundational place for me, in large part because of its diverse community. Wheeler is fantastically, wonderfully diverse, with students whose families come from all over the world. At Wheeler, I was able to learn from people whose life experiences and backgrounds differed remarkably from my own. And I can say with 100% certainty that this community helped shape me into the person I am today. Unfortunately, the name of our school does not represent the diverse student body and alumni network that make Wheeler what it is. During the height of the civil rights movement, when Black and non-white Americans were risking their lives for their rights, Cobb County chose to name our school after a Confederate general, a man whose legacy represents hate, division, and violence. That was nearly 60 years ago, and perhaps we'll never know what exactly went into the naming process in the first place. But now that we are aware of our namesake's hateful legacy, it is our obligation to advocate for change. After graduating from Wheeler, I went on to pursue my bachelor's degree at Yale University, and while there, I learned that names matter. At Yale, we faced a similarly difficult situation. One of Yale's residential communities was named after John C. Calhoun, whose pro-slavery advocacy divided America in half. There were students within this community whose very identities would have made them subhuman in Calhoun's eyes. After extensive student advocacy, Yale decided to rename this residential community. I bring up this example because of the lessons that it may offer to us today. The Wheeler community celebrates its diversity. It is what makes us who we are. How can we expect students and alumni to be their authentic selves within our community when we know its namesake waged a war to keep communities like ours from existing? I'm so proud to be a Wheeler alum, and I'm so proud of the Wheeler community and its alumni network, but I am embarrassed by my school's name. And as an alum, I am not alone in this sentiment. Changing the name of our school would bring the alumni community closer together by telling us that our diversity is not something to be embarrassed about, but something to be celebrated. Changing Wheeler's name would allow us to confront our painful past rather than ignoring it. It allows us and the honorable board members to be on the right side of history and to correct past mistakes. I strongly urge this board to reestablish a committee on changing the name, to engage in transparent dialogue with student advocates who are asking for a name change, and to change the name of Wheeler High School. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, my name is Ryan Jackson. I'm a proud alumna of Wheeler's class of 2015. My family is one with deep Atlanta roots. My great-grandmother was the first Black woman real estate broker in the city. My grandparents taught in the public school system. My parents both grew up on the same street in Southwest long before starting their family. Before my birth, when they announced that we were moving to Cobb to be closer to the business that my father purchased over 25 years ago and still runs from Marietta, my family was not only surprised, they were concerned. Because the reason that our Atlanta roots rarely breach city limits is because of racism and segregation. It is with recent generations that areas of this metropolis and Cobb County were open and welcoming to people who look like me. I am so thankful that Cobb has always been my welcoming home. And as I was fortunate enough to have a say in where I would attend high school, I consciously chose Wheeler, where I knew there was a diverse and collaborative community committed to one goal of student success. Recent Wheeler history will show that a decade ago when I entered high school, those buildings on Holt Road looked quite different. My classmates and I navigated aging infrastructure, us athletes split gym time with the middle school, and everyone braved over 40 trailer classrooms in all weather. This perseverance, knowledge, and confidence make up the anatomy of a Wildcat, and any student who has navigated our class changes has gained tangible skills, but I took even more. My supreme education granted me a full academic scholarship for college. Playing 4 competitive sports encouraged me to continue competing. Our international population and dedicated teachers influenced my course of study, and the collective commitment by faculty and students to respect one another is ingrained in my aura. I have taken Wheeler with me as a White House intern, a study abroad student, and currently in corporate America. Cobb County is my home, and Wheeler has made me who I am, but it's difficult to speak the latter half of that sentence with pride, given every time the name of my beloved high school is stated, it bears honor to a man who actively worked against my existence. For this board to knowingly retain the name of Joseph Wheeler on a school building, and particularly on a school building where the majority of students are Black, suggests that while we have come a long way from the tardy integration in 1965, perhaps the district has not come as far as we would hope. This group of elected leaders should not rest until its students feel affirmed in their county and in their school. I have watched these students take time out of school,
30 seconds.
Time out of studying, time out of college applications, and time out of their lives to communicate with you on the importance of this matter. And while you were quick to adapt to policy regarding the current pandemic, this district has done little to address naming convention since it intentionally placed the name on my school over 50 years ago. Sadly, I've also watched and heard about many of this board working to bring conversation and progress on this naming to a standstill. I request that you either 1, reinstate the disbanded committee on naming, or 2, offer clear instruction on renaming policy within your written response in the next 30 days. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Carmen Dyck, and I'm a proud alumna of Wheeler High School, class of 2016. When I look back at my time at Wheeler, I think of a culture of caring and acceptance. I think of the wonderfully diverse student body that I had the opportunity to learn and grow with, from 6th grade at East Cobb Middle School all the way through senior year at Wheeler. I was lucky to meet people from so many different backgrounds with different life experiences from all over the world. Everything about Wheeler promotes determination, inclusion, and student success. Everything except for its name. Wheeler High School was named after Joseph Wheeler, a Confederate general who stood against all Wildcat and Cobb County values. Every morning at 8:20 a.m., students have to walk through a doorway under the name of a man who stood for hate. How can we expect students to reach their fullest potentials when they are constantly reminded that the namesake of their school was a man who worked actively against them? The time for a name change is now. After graduation, I attended Georgia Tech, and I had the opportunity to live and work all over the country. And frankly, the more I learned and traveled, the more embarrassed I was by the name of my high school. Wheeler is an amazing school that often earns statewide and national spotlight. It is simply unacceptable that we represent such incredible students and faculty under the name of a man who waged a war against communities like ours. Wheeler High School holds great memories for me. I think of our team winning the regional track meet my sophomore year and the end-of-season swim meets in Athens. I think of studying for AP exams and volunteering with the Helping Hands Club. If Wheeler's name is changed, these memories will not be dissolved or tarnished. In fact, they will grow fonder, because I will know that in the time since I left the school board has heard our voices and shown more care for its students, and that the high school has grown into an even more inclusive community. What I am asking you today is to help Wheeler find a new name by reinstating a committee for renaming the school or offering clear instructions on renaming policy within your written response in the next 30 days. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Shannon Redmond, who will discuss Wheeler High School name change, and she'll be followed by Connie Jackson.
Hi, my name is Shannon Redmond, and I graduated from Wheeler in 2016. I went to Soap Creek Elementary School, East Cobb Middle School, and then Wheeler. Going to schools as racially diverse as East Cobb and Wheeler helped me become the educated person that I am today. My education taught me to put myself in other people's shoes, and I credit that to my success in college and now in my job. I have lots of good memories from Wheeler. I remember being in Macon when we won the basketball state championship. I remember the late afternoons my friends and I would spend talking in the student parking lot after school. I remember winning vice president of my senior class and giving speeches at graduation. Those are all great memories, but among those memories were conversations that Joseph Wheeler was a Confederate soldier. It was commonly known and talked about by everyone. Back then, most of us were not confident enough to think we could influence the name change of the school. Knowing who Joseph Wheeler was negatively affected my high school experience. Wheeler is the second most diverse high school in Cobb County, right behind Spraberry. How could you sit up here and be proud of a school's diversity when the school is named after a racist Confederate soldier who was fighting to keep slavery alive in the South? What I ask of you today is to put yourself in the shoes of a 14-year-old student of color starting high school at Wheeler. They're already scared because, like all of us, starting high school is scary. You don't know where your classes are, and you might not have many friends. But above all, they are reminded of the racist man the high school is named after. How do you think these 14-year-old kids feel about their school memorializing a white supremacist whose aim was to spread hate? Students of color have gone through and will go through experiences that I will never have to face, and that some of you will never have to face, simply because we are white. I ask of you to pay most of your attention to what my classmates of color have had to say today. Over anyone, they are the voices that you need to listen to because they are the most affected by Joseph Wheeler's racist past. It has taken a toll on people of color's lives, and it will continue to do so until the name of Wheeler has changed. Changing the name of Wheeler High School will not erase our memories, but instead it will make us more proud of them. You have the opportunity to make students of color more comfortable in their learning environment, and even though it's a small change, it will have a very big impact. Thank you for your consideration, and I would like a written response in 30 days.